Hi guys, I'm CL Creech, author, creator, and publisher of One Last Quest, and I am reading it for you. Welcome back to chapter 19. We're about 2/3 of the way through the book right now. Hope you guys are liking it so far. If you don't like waiting on me to read it, buy the book. Links down below. Chapter 19, or 18, I'm sorry. A long talk with an old friend. Rick was casually walking next to the lake, looking around in all directions. Much as he wanted to win the game, he wasn't in any hurry. More than anything, he wanted to take the time to enjoy nature and soak in all that it had to offer. He stopped for a moment to look up at the tree, thinking he'd seen a feather fall when Michelle ran up next to him. "You're not in more of a hurry to get free drinks?" Michelle asked with a smile. Rick didn't drink much anymore. It was rare that he had more than a couple of beers in a week, if he even drank that much. "I have 5 kids," Rick responded with a smile of his own. "I run to soccer games, I run to ballet recitals, run to find out why my oldest got pierced and tattooed this week. Today, I'm just enjoying the walk." Michelle could understand where Rick was coming from. Seemed like the world was always rushing by. Sometimes it just helps to slow down and enjoy the world around you. She knew it could be a while before either of them would get another chance. "I don't blame you. I was hoping you'd try to win. Be nice for you to come for a visit. I could use some of your wizard wisdom from time to time," Michelle said. "I'll come visit," Rick replied. "I'll need free drinks to have an excuse to come down. I'll make the time. What about you? Not in a rush either?" "Honestly," Michelle said, dropping her head in thought, "I want one of you guys to win. Be nice to have friends come to visit. Excuse me. It'd be a lot easier to get one of you guys to come down instead of the whole group." "Like I said, we don't need an excuse," Rick said with a compassion in his voice. "But it sounds like you've been lonely." Rick was right. Outside of work, Michelle was very lonely. If it wasn't for the occasional trip to the grocery store, she wasn't sure if she'd ever see another human being. "Yeah, I bet," Michelle said, looking up at the scenery around her. "I mean, when I'm working shows or working at the bar, I'm surrounded by dozens and sometimes even hundreds of people. The bar can get pretty crowded." "And outside of work?" Rick asked with genuine concern. "Not so much, but I have a cat," Michelle said, forcing a smile. Rick didn't have any animals. His wife and kids kept him busy enough. He couldn't imagine having to take care of an animal as well. "Cats are nice," Rick said with a slight laugh. "I guess they are," Michelle said, thinking about all the cat hair that she'd have to get off the furniture when she got home. "But it'd be nice just to have a friend over once in a while. Someone to have dinner with, or just maybe kick back and watch a movie with." Rick felt sorry for Michelle. With his busy life, he couldn't imagine coming home to an empty apartment. He could only imagine what Michelle went through. He wondered what kind of companionship she was looking for. "So you're looking for a relationship, I bet, Jackie," Rick began to say. "No," Michelle exclaimed, cutting him off. Rick had been in one relationship or another his entire adult life. He'd been married 3 times, and with each one it seemed like as soon as one ended, he was jumping straight into another one. "You don't like Jackie?" Rick said jokingly. Michelle didn't know what to say. Jackie was great, but she wasn't sure Jackie wanted the same thing she did. "I don't. She is. Well, it's not like that," Michelle said, flustered. It'd been a long time since they spent time together, and Rick and Michelle had gone through a lot of changes. He wondered if her sexual preferences had changed as well. "So, do you prefer men?" Rick asked, if that's okay for me to ask. Again, this flustered Michelle, who wasn't sure how to respond. "Well, Michelle began to say. Rick cut her off, realizing he shouldn't have asked. Instead, he thought he would turn the question into a joke. "I'm sorry, but I'm already married. I hear Danny's available, though," Rick said with a smile. Michelle returned the smile. Michelle could feel how awkward it was for Rick to ask about her preferences. After thinking for a moment, She decided it was best just to be open and honest. I'm bisexual, so I like both, Michelle said as they walked around the edge of the lake. Bisexuality wasn't something new to Rick. He always admired people who were bisexual. To him, it showed that they saw a person for what's on the inside in their heart and not what's on the inside of their pants. Interesting, Rick said thoughtfully. So's my oldest daughter, but she's only 17. She does have some college friends I could maybe set you up with, though. Michelle knew Rick was trying. Michelle knew Rick was trying his best to help her, but she looked at him as an older brother or maybe a father figure. Talking about this and the idea of being set up just threw her for a loop. I don't. Well, then Jackie. Huh? Michelle said, very flustered. Relax, Rick exclaimed with a very deep laugh. I'm just busting your, I'm messing with you. Rick wasn't sure the proper way to say busting your balls was to someone who was transgender. Okay, Michelle said, calming down. Rick and Michelle kept walking and looking at the natural world around them. Neither was sure what to say to each other. Rick did want to help his old friend and decided maybe the best way to do it was just ask questions. So, what are you looking for? Rick asked. Michelle had thought about what she was looking for in a long time. It had been a long time since anyone asked. It had been even longer since she had asked herself. Just a friend, I guess, Michelle responded thoughtfully. Someone who accepts me for who I am and doesn't judge. You've got the four of us, Rick quickly responded. Michelle thought for a minute before saying anything else. She loved the group. They were family to her. But it had been a long time since she'd seen or heard from any of them. Yeah, I know, Michelle said thoughtfully. And you know I love you guys. This weekend means the world to me. But look how long it's been. You guys never called or emailed or... You didn't either, Rick said, cutting her off. Valid point, Michelle said, looking off in the distance. Rick wished he'd stayed in contact with Michelle. If he'd known what she was going through, he would have tried to reach out to her to help her. Do you mind if I ask you a question? Rick said after a moment. Sure, Michelle responded. Why didn't you reach out to any of us? Why didn't you let us know what you were going through? Rick asked. That was hard for Michelle to answer. She had to take a minute to think before answering. She thought about reaching out so many times. She wanted to call and ask them to come visit. She wanted to come back up to visit. In her mind, it just wasn't that simple, though. Didn't know how you'd react, Michelle said. I mean, look how my family reacted. Rick could understand Michelle's hesitation. Couldn't have been easy for her. For her to be going through a major transition and not knowing how anyone would look at her. Would everyone see her as the group did, or would people react to her more like her blood family? You know what I've learned from having 5 kids? Rick asked. What's that? Michelle responded. Sometimes you just have to quit looking for things and let things find you, Rick said. Just last week, one of my daughters looked all over the house for her ballet slippers. She tore the house apart. Drove me crazy because, of course, Daddy had to go behind her cleaning up. I'm sure I'd say that did drive you crazy, Michelle said with a smile. She spent 3 hours looking for those slippers, Rick continued. Was almost ready to buy her some new ones just to calm her down. Then, when she was getting ready for bed, she just opened her closet door and they fell on her head. They were on top of her closet the entire time. Still blew Michelle's mind that Rick had so many kids. He was always a family man. He was always a leader. The more she thought about it, the more she realized Rick wouldn't have been happy doing anything else. Michelle thought about Rick's story for a moment. So, Michelle said, thinking about the point of the story, as soon as she quit looking, she found exactly what she was looking for. Exactly, Rick said with a smile. Michelle could see where Rick was coming from. So it's kind of like, Michelle said, when I quit looking for people after my family rejected me, That's when I accidentally ran into Danny and found you guys again. When I quit looking for a family, I found a family. Rick was happy that Michelle understood the point of his story. However, the story was also a double meaning in the present situation. I was talking about the fishing lure, Rick said, pointing to a fishing line hanging from a nearby tree with a fishing lure attached. Michelle and Rick both shared a good laugh. But if it works for that too, then I guess it works both ways, Rick said with a smile and wink as he broke the lure from the line. Michelle knew the story was for her, and finding the fishing lure was just a happy coincidence. Michelle then decided it was her turn to ask a question. Can I ask you something? Michelle said thoughtfully. No, Rick replied sternly. Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry, Michelle said, backing off. Rick looked at Michelle with a big grin. Again, Rick said, looking at Michelle. I'm just messing with you. Go ahead, ask me anything you want. Oh, okay, Michelle said with a sigh of relief. What would you do if one of your kids came out as transgender? Rick hadn't thought about that. He had to deal with all kinds of situations with his kids, but this one never came up. So you're asking how I'd react if one of them decided they had a different gender identity? Rick asked, clarifying the question. Yeah, something like that, Michelle said. Rick took a moment to collect his thoughts on the subject before responding. He wanted to be as honest as possible. Rick said, stopping to think. I never really thought about it. I suppose as long as they're happy and healthy, I'd be happy and support whatever the decision they decided to make. Michelle felt good about Rick's answer. However, she knew thinking about the situation and being in the situation were two completely different things. Would you still love them? Michelle asked. Even if they were our age when they decided to make the change? Rick took a moment to think before answering. Again, Rick said thoughtfully, sometimes you find something after you quit looking for it. They could be 90 before they find themselves, and if it takes that long, that's okay. You'd still be okay with it, Michelle asked. Rick loved his children unconditionally. In his heart, he didn't think their gender identity would make a difference. I'm always going to be their dad, Rick said. I love them no matter what. You're a good dad, Michelle said, giving Rick a quick hug. Rick stayed so busy he never really gave much thought to whether he was a good dad or not. He just tried to do the best he could. Thank you, Rick said with a slight blush. Now it's my turn to ask you another question. No, Michelle said with a smile. Rick raised an eyebrow looking toward Michelle. She was using his own humor against him, and he thought it was wonderful. Okay, shoot, Michelle said with a laugh. Rick thought back to their playing days. He hoped she would remember something from the old days. You remember my oldest daughter, right? Rick asked. It had been a long time since Michelle had seen her, but she remembered her fondly. Of course, Michelle exclaimed. She was the little girl who used to steal the miniatures off the table during game night. Uh, the same, Rick said with a laugh, thinking about the memory. Yeah, I remember her. Responding with her own smile. She was hard to forget. Michelle always thought the world of her. Anyway, she turns 18 in a couple of months. Rick began. Okay, Michelle asked, trying to figure out what Rick was trying to ask. And I know you do drag queen shows, Rick continued. Yeah, Michelle asked, still having no clue what he was trying to ask. Well, Rick said, thinking about how to phrase what he wanted to ask. How would you feel about popping out of her birthday cake and drag? I think it'd be hilarious and make her party memorable. Michelle almost fell over laughing, saying, I think we could work it out. A loud whistle was heard in the distance, causing Rick and Michelle both to look back towards camp. Looks like somebody won. Yep, guess we better get back, Michelle responded. To Michelle, Rick will always be a friend and a brother. But for just a few minutes, he also became a real father figure. That was something she really needed right now. I don't know if you guys got chills from that chapter like I did. All I'm going to say is come back tomorrow for chapter 19 and find out who won the scavenger hunt. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.